But first, this week the Liberal Party, in talking about sending out the regular old age security and Canada Pension Plan benefits, declared on social media that they'll keep working to protect the financial securities seniors have earned. Now, I have to admit, saying that after ignoring, well, it's been 10 years, the importance of capital investment, productivity, and economic growth, which, by the way, are the antithesis of protecting financial security, not only did I have a sort of wait and see, but it really pushes a button with me. Of course, Liberal supporters won't like that, but they should consider that Prime Minister Carney himself made a similar comment. Anyone with even a passing knowledge of economics agrees that productivity growth, capital investment are the foundation of a strong economy. But what really set me off is their politically motivated pandering to older Canadians, which analysis of the voting patterns in April, by the way, showed it worked. As famed economist, though, Thomas Sowell observed, for short-term political gain, in order to make certain constituencies happy, in order to give people what they want with no sacrifice, we're willing to throw future generations under the bus. And we are throwing them under the bus. I mean, I've recently thought that many seniors should start wearing a sweatshirt that says, hey, as long as I'm okay, Canada's okay. Now, I'm a senior, by the way, and it looks like I'm in the minority who thinks we have a responsibility to protect the financial future of younger Canadians, a responsibility we have completely ignored and mishandled. Whether we're talking about unaffordable housing, with much of it caused by the massive fees, regulations, levies, and taxes added on by the government, which can add as much as 30% to the cost of a new build, but of course it was further exacerbated by record immigration and temporary visas. Add in the fact that for young people, the average price to income ratio for buying a home is twice as high as it was in the 70s, the 80s, or 90s. In trying to secure their financial future, young people are faced with a record tax burden by all three levels of government, while they inherit a declining healthcare system where the majority of healthcare spending goes to seniors. I mean, considering that seniors like myself, over 65, will consume more in medical care, hence tax dollars, than younger Canadians will in the first 6.5 decades of their lives. And speaking of their financial future, what about the Canada Pension Plan? For all those young people who are looking at their paychecks right now and seeing mandatory Canada Pension Plan premiums deducted, they don't understand or seem to understand that that money isn't going to their retirement. It's going to pay today's seniors' benefits. What if instead, though, a young worker could put that mandatory employer-employee Canada Pension Plan contributions into a personal plan, say, for 40 years from the age of 25 to 65, and earn, say, 6% per year, that's under the TSX average return, his yearly benefits would be over $90,000. Plus, they'd have a lump sum at the end, about $1.1 million. Compare that to the max right now in Canada Pension, which is $17,000, and there is no lump sum nest egg at the end of it. That's not a good deal. Neither is the explosion in temporary student and work visas, which has a direct impact on wages, along with affordable housing, healthcare, and other areas of social infrastructure. Perhaps the most obvious example, though, is our refusal to protect the financial future of younger Canadians is the massive and continued buildup in government debt and the accompanying interest payments that younger Canadians are going to be paying for the rest of their lives, for several decades, more than any senior. In that vein, my favorite quote from the last Liberal budget last year, then Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland said, in quotes, "It would be irresponsible and unfair to pass more debt to the next generation." Are you kidding me? That's what they did immediately. And under Mark Carney, we'll see record increases in debt with no end in sight of huge federal deficits. And speaking of fairness, how about this one? Canadians love to talk about fairness. That's the fact that millennials contribute 20 to 40% more in income tax toward baby boomer retirement than the boomers did themselves for retirees who came before them. I don't know if that's fair. Doesn't look like it to me. I mean, there's so much more to this story about what it would take to secure the financial future of younger generation. It would start with a discussion, by the way, and we're not having it. And it would start with favorite politicians and some seniors giving a darn. But at least we seem to be aware of the problem. Earlier this year, a Pew Research poll found that 78% of Canadians believe their children will be financially worse off than they were. Only 16% think they'd be better off. That was very similar results to an Angus Reid poll from the previous year. Now, personally, I'm more hopeful than that, by the way, but it's thanks to technological advancement. That's another story for another day. And maybe I'm just wishful thinking. But the question is, how do we protect our younger people? Well, education's a start. The more they know, the better. And hardly a surprise that I would recommend they listen to Money Talks. Make it a family thing, listen together, and also get them interested in things like stocks. You could do that with buying fractional shares in big name companies, things they know, like Apple, Nvidia, Barrick. Have them follow their performance, but it's anything to get them started. It would give them a real head start, especially given the period we're about to enter, which we've correctly identified on Money Talks years ago, the massive change we're going to see to the monetary system, things in society, and I think even politics. But we've also got to face the continual erosion of the purchasing power of our currency and the threat of escalating government debt.